What exactly are the downsides of the Zoom Q8n-4K? We're going to have a look now. Before I begin, I have to say the audio quality from this camera is superb. In fact, I use it as an audio recorder a lot. Some of its problems, like auto white balance, can be fixed in post, so that's not so much of a worry, although if you're wandering around with it or you've got lights going on and off with different colours, it's going to try and correct that while it's filming. So let's go and try the Zoom Q8n. I'm now using the Zoom Q8n-4K and it has, as you can see, a very wide field of view. The problem with this field of view is it is actually extremely wide. It's 150 degrees, although at the moment I'm on the second setting, so it's a bit slightly in. But when you zoom in on this thing, it's not a proper zoom. In fact, basically what it's doing is it's cutting down the number of pixels, so your picture quality can go quite rough at the other end, at the zoom end. Now, if I open it right out, you'll see just how wide this thing is. That's now at its widest setting. Now just try and line myself up in the middle, and that's now showing virtually all of my room. I'm trying to see, there's my keyboard. Over here is my piano. It's showing the whole piano, the whole keyboard. It's virtually almost showing the ceiling. And if I stretch my arms out, you can see at 3 feet, I can't even get it straight there, at 3 feet, I'm just about touching the edges of the frame. It's extremely wide. Also, with that wide angle lens comes the wide angle distortion, which isn't always very nice. So if you've got like straight paths or buildings in front of you, it's going to bend them. The best setting I found is the second setting, which is there, and that's a compromise. You're not zooming in too much, so you're not using too many pixels up. So the field of view, extremely wide. When you zoom in, you lose quality, and I see that as number one. If you want to zoom in a little bit more than the lens can do without losing too much quality, there is another option, of course. You can set the camera to 4K, but you're only then going to be able to use 25 frames a second and not 50. And then when you render it down in 1080p, which gives you a little bit of leeway with the zooming in. Number two, the camera has no stabilization, so you can't really carry this around and get smooth footage. You would have to put it on a gimbal. Because of its shape, don't think you can. So this is a little bit difficult. You'd have to get a mechanical type of gimbal to do any smooth type of shots, and it's going to be, I think, a little bit too much trouble, to be honest. So it lacks stabilization, which means it's got to stay really on a tripod, or you've got to have very steady hands. To get over this problem, one thing you can do is take the footage as smoothly as you can, and when you get it home, use your software to sort out the stabilization. Even some cheap softwares these days have stabilization included in them, so that can sort it out to some extent. It's not the best solution, but it can help. Number three, this is often a problem that you don't find out until post. When you take it home, put it on a larger screen and you see it on your computer, and suddenly you find it's all grainy. And the reason for that is because this only has automatic gain. It sets the gain itself, or the ISO. That means if you're in low light situations on that tiny screen, it might look okay and it might look smooth and everything like that, and everything looks okay, and then you find out later that things have gone wrong, and that is a real downside, and it's a real killer, because I have taken quite a bit of footage on this only to take it home and found grain on it. So the ISO, the gain, is auto, and there's nothing really you can do about that except turn on bright lights or open a window, which I've done here. And you'll notice, by the way, that because of that auto color balance as well, I haven't got any lights on in the background, because I know that when the lights change color, or if I put a blue light up, the auto color balance is going to try and change the color of my skin. Number four, well, I've already said it. This camera is totally automatic. You have no control over shutter, aperture, color, ISO. There's no control. You basically switch the camera on, point it at something, shoot it, and what you get is what you get. There are no controls over the picture whatsoever. Number five, although this is a really excellent audio recorder, the audio effects on board are extremely limited. You have got a compressor, there is a limiter. There is also a noise gate, and there's all sorts of things going on with the audio. But the problem is when I use a noise gate or when I use compression, I want to vary the amount, and I also want to set thresholds. So for instance, with compression, I would like to set the threshold at a different place depending on how loud the audio is. You can't do that with this. It just puts compression on and that's about it. I also want to set how much compression. For vocal stuff, I might use 2:1 or 3:1 on the peaks. You can't do that with this camera. The thing about the noise gate is very often what I will do, especially with me, because I go in between sentences, I try to get that down. So I use a noise gate, not to get rid of it, but just to reduce it. I often do that with microphones that are noisy. In fact, what I do is I put a noise gate in where that noise is in between the audio speech and just take it down by about 6 dB, or if I can get away with it, 12 dB, and it gives the impression that your microphone is a lot cleaner and a lot less noisy than it actually is. You can't do that with this. It's got a noise gate, but the noise gate works at a very, very low level and only clicks in when it's really quiet. So it's ineffective really, because what I've found is in my house, where my house is just about on the borderline where the noise gate is opening and closing, and it keeps opening and closing while I'm filming. So you get this sort of weird noise of it coming in like that. So it's basically a noise gate that is useless. So the controls for audio are really quite limited. Having said that, as I keep saying, the audio sound quality is excellent. In fact, I'm using it now. Last one. At this price, it doesn't come even with a bag. It's just a basic package. There's no filter thread. You've got a nice microphone on the top. You've got nice inputs for microphones. You've got a picture that's not controllable, basically. You just point and shoot, and they can't even give you a bag either. And I think at that price, it's just a little bit mean. It would have been nice to have had a bag. The Zoom Q8n is capable of some really good results as long as you're in bright lighting. The Q8 is on a tripod. You set it on the second zoom setting, preferably in 4K, so if you're going to work in 1080, you can zoom in. Use an external mic for truly excellent sound. It's basically a point and shoot camera, and it's aimed at people who want excellent audio quality on their video, but not necessarily the best picture quality, which is a bit at odds with a camera, isn't it really? But that's the way the Q8 is designed. It's designed for excellent sound and fairly good picture. I hope to see you next time. Cheers for now.